This is probably your biggest red flag in dating. These 4 little words will make him block you and never look back. Problem is at epidemic levels. But why are our dating lives suffering from it, and what can we do about it? What up, though? I am Jay the Gentleman. That's at JAI the Gentleman on IG. It's Wednesday, so this is a new episode of Dear Black Gay Men podcast. It's our short, bullshit-free step out of our comfort zone to talk all the emotional ups and downs along the journey to happiness. Hopefully, this is our midweek reminder of how dope it is to be black gay men who love black gay men. I am Jay the Gentleman. This is Dear Black Gay Men podcast. Now let's get into the episode. Today, I'm going to tell you the story about what could be the biggest frustration in black gay culture. Not mobile, can't host. But first, Orite Aton 5262 said, I think many people push too aggressively to achieve material things because it's largely something they can control. With the folks we meet, the factors can be so unpredictable. And at Fine Cat said, learn to love yourself, learn your likes and dislikes, and be comfortable with who you are. Be a whole person before getting into a relationship, and most importantly, know your worth. And to that,
I say thank you.
There are only 3 basic things most of us are looking for in a dating situation. When you're not mobile, can't host, you're already failing at 2 of them. You can scroll through whatever gay social app and you'll find it. Usually some boy looking like whatever he thinks trade looks like. You scroll through his page, half of it is probably in all caps. The other half has way too much punctuation. His interests are something like smoking and chilling or 420 friendly or some request to send him your bank account information so you can make some money. And then, buried under all that fluff, tucked all the way to the back of his profile are these 3 basic requirements. Say it with me, y'all know them. A crib, a car, and a job. The apps can be frustrating. Endless scrolling and the random conversation started by 3-letter words. But let me give you something to scroll through that might not be so frustrating. This episode of Dear Black Gay Men podcast is brought to you in part by our newsletter. Dear Black Gay Men Weekly is a quick conversation with me, what's going on in my life, how did I come up with the topic for the podcast, and some insider tea about everything going on here at Dear Black Gay Men. As always, it's your favorite content creator's favorite content, and it's absolutely free to join. Just visit dearblackgaymen.com/weekly. That's dearblackgaymen.com/weekly. The link is in the description. Now, let's get back into the show. A crib, a car, and a job. That's all we asking for. But let's back up. Give us a little more context. I have 2 dating stories I want to tell you. Hopefully this will help give us a little way to understand this concept. The first, let's call him Jared. Y'all know I don't like using people's real names. Jared is out celebrating a new job and a promotion, and he meets a guy. They hit it off. A couple of dates in, Jared's car breaks down. It's not the normal kind of breakdown.
Oh, this is the worst one I ever had, son. Oh, it's the worst one. This is a big one.
Only problem is Jared lives on one side of town and the guy he's dating now lives on the other. One day, Jared wants to see his boo.
My me.
His car is legitimately in the shop. So what does he do? He Googles public transit schedules, hops on 2 trains, a bus, and an Uber.
Along periodically time.
But he gets to his boo's house. That's Jared. The other story is Tim. Tim meets this guy and they start kicking it. They live gay social media distance away from each other. So the guy has no problem coming to Tim's house. They kick it regularly. Y'all see what I'm doing there? One day, instead of coming to Tim, the guy invites Tim to his place. And Tim finally has to say that his car is in the shop. Can you come scoop me? I'm going to give you a couple minutes in the chat box, in the comments, to let me know which of these situations do you think lasted. Y'all ready? Fun fact, Jared in these 2 stories is me. JAI, the Gentleman, my first name is Jared. I was the one on 2 trains. I was the one on that bus, and I was the one that took an Uber.
Along periodically time.
The person I was going to see eventually became my boyfriend.
My me.
Interestingly enough, Tim is a guy I dated once. Plot twist, after that come scoop me fiasco, he ain't last too much longer. The problem with not mobile, can't host has nothing to do with your car or your living situation. The problem is equity. No grown-ass, self-respecting man is going to willingly accept the responsibility of fixing you.
You complete me.
Before we get to the bedroom, we are two men. We got the same two legs, we got the same two hands, and hopefully we got the same amount of good sense.
Is you crazy? Is you not crazy?
Not Mobile Can't Host sends a sign that with all the faculties that are available to both of us, that we both have, life has gotten the best of you. Now let's be clear. Not Mobile Can't Host is not the same as I don't have a car. There are many situations where having a car is an unnecessary burden. I dated a guy here in Atlanta who was much better off without a car than he was with one, but he never once asked me to come scoop him. Admittedly, I'm a gentleman, so I did. I picked him up every time I took him out on a date. But forcing me to come scoop you and me offering to pick up this absolutely able-bodied man are two different things. A good man wants to activate for and with you. We want to show you that you matter, that you're worth the sacrifice, whatever that sacrifice may be. But having to compensate for your inability to do for yourself makes the dick go soft. Me volunteering to open your car door, dick hard. You standing there as if your hands don't work, dick soft. Me telling the waiter, that'll be one check, dick hard. You whispering to me that you don't get paid till tomorrow after we done order cocktails and dessert, dick soft. Me coming to pick you up for a date that I planned for us, dick hard. You signaling to me that you can't get there lest I scoop you, dick soft. Willingly activating is a completely different thing than being forced to activate. But I think the bigger lesson is about how selfish we get in dating. There's something in the water nowadays that has us believe that everybody in the world needs to meet us where we are. We do that with things that are absolutely necessary, like pronouns. I was something, now I identify, you knew me as something, now I identify as something else, and the world should meet me where I am. Absolutely necessary. We do that with identity. We do it with expression. In those instances, yes, you've done the hard work to become yourself. And the work, the selfness that you've grown demands respect. But dating isn't some social justice experiment. If you do it right, your person will spend the rest of their days with you. That kind of longevity, that kind of sacrifice, that kind of tenacity and fortitude requires some preparation and flexibility from both or everyone involved. When Not Mobile Can't Host is your norm, the message the rest of the world is receiving is that you can't do for yourself. It either means you haven't established clear enough boundaries in your living situation for your adulthood to be respected, or you haven't worked hard enough to ensure that you're self-sufficient. Either way, potential bae is going to have to compensate for you. While you're getting comfortable in the passenger seat of my car, in the passenger seat of your life, in the passenger seat of our relationship, you're forcing me, inadvertently sometimes, but forcing me, the man that's interested in you, to drive, even when I don't feel like it. And that shit, my friends, gets tiring. Emotionally and physically. Now, I can hear in the comments, do you have to have a car to be dateable? No. The answer is a hard and fast no. You do not have to have a car to be dateable or eligible. You do not have to drive to be eligible, but you do have to have drive. Does that make sense? Remember, I was the guy with no car. I was the one on the 2 buses, the Uber, and the train.
Along periodically time.
The person that I dated at the time would have gladly drove across the city to see me. He would have picked me up and probably gotten tired of me after a couple weeks. What worked, what showed him that I wanted to see him, what proved that I respected his time and his resource was that I was willing to come to him, regardless of my transportation situation. He loved the fact that he was worth me leaving the house 2 hours early and getting on public transit to get to him on the other side of the city.
Along periodically time.
You see, when you can be honest about your limitations, introspective enough to acknowledge that being with you ain't no cakewalk, and self-aware enough to appreciate the sacrifice the other person has to make to be with you, that's how you earn the right to be with someone for the long haul. Not having a car is one thing, but not acknowledging the burden such a situation would put on the other person That's a totally different thing. But we all do that. You know you a crazy ass Gemini. You run hot and cold. You have these mood swings. Being that is one thing. Not acknowledging that, that's not mobile, can't host. Or maybe you're not a good texter, or you're not the best communicator. Not acknowledging that is not mobile, can't host. Maybe you work really long hours, or you have a bad attitude at times, or you don't have a great relationship with your family. Any of your unresolved bullshit is your version of not mobile, can't host. And not acknowledging the burden your bullshit can put on a relationship is the reason why your ass is still single. In a perfect world, nobody would have any bullshit. No one would have any baggage. We'd all be self-actualized and resolved. We'd all have cars and self-awareness. We'd all be dateable and intentionally dating. We'd all be courageous enough to say what and who we want and mean what we say.
My me.
But we don't live in a perfect world, friend. We live in reality. And the closer you get to the reality of who you are, the easier it is for someone else to get close to the reality of who you are. When we take the time to do our single work, to identify those issues within ourselves, that is our version of that 2-hour trip across town on the MARTA.
Along periodically time.
A good man is not expecting you to have all your shit worked out, but he will demand that you at least have a good inventory of your shit so that the two of you can work it out together. So dear Black gay men, it might be time for you to get a bus pass. If you like content like this, please subscribe and give the video a thumbs up. And you can click on the screen if you want to know what kind of work is necessary to make it over the 90-day dating hump. I am Jay the Gentleman. This has been Dear Black Gay Men Podcast, and I will talk to you next time. Bye.